What's up, guys? Chatty C, RC back with you here on the channel. And today we are going to be talking about one of the most important things when it comes to 6-inch long range, mid range, all that kind of stuff. When it comes to getting a good video and a good tune, and that's balancing props. Well, it's kind of a forgotten art because with 5-inch blades, 3-inch blades, and stuff like that, there's really not a whole lot of need. I mean, I really haven't had to go through this since back with my my F450 DJI NASA M type of days, and some of you guys with the TBS Discovery days. I do balance my props and my planes and stuff though, just because, again, it's about that performance increase you get. You know, you get better efficiency, everything just sounds better, and components just don't have to work as hard. So I'm going to be going through a lot of the common props that I have and that we are using right now, up until December here, 2017. Bi-blades and tri-blades. So we'll start with some bi-blades, with tri-blades first. And these are the ideal 60-48s. I know a lot of people don't use these, and I normally don't either, but they're pretty much the best example that I can find that are unbalanced out of the box in a bad way. I do and have balanced my Master Airscrew props. You can see the CA on there, but typically these are all pretty good. So tri-blades, you don't have to worry about the hubs, and that's the important part. With bi-blades, we have to balance the hubs. Balancing the blades just isn't enough. With the tri-blade, you need to get all three of these blades as close to balance as possible, and that just kind of takes care of everything. So, you know, these props are light. There's not a lot of meat on them, so the balancing and the balancers are really fiddly. It's not like some of the videos that you see on YouTube now where they're balancing big 8-inch like APC props or something like that have a lot of weight on the blades, so you can actually get a little bit more of an effect of what we're trying to do. But if you look at, I'm using a Dubro balancer, and you want to make sure you are on a sturdy and level surface. And then the next thing you want to do is make sure that this plane is level, and you just want to use something that is of the same height and kind of stick it in underneath here, and then lower both sections to where it's touching or whatever, to where you feel that you're level. You can come in with a small bubble level on the rod, or lay something flat on top of there and check your level. So just make sure everything's as level and squared up as possible. Also, one thing you may notice, you'll never see a clean bench in this place, that is for sure. It's been just building, and one thing falls apart or breaks and you start something else. You know how it is, one thing leads to another. So anyway, let's get started here. All right, so we got the tri-blade on here, this ideal. It's got, you know, some heavier blades, so it's a little bit easier to demonstrate what's going on. Right now, the blade that's pointing down is the heaviest, and you really just got to kind of finesse these, and you can kind of see what's going on. So if I put this blade here pointing up, you can see that it's dropping down to this heavy side here. And you notice that it's not dropping down all the way because there's just not enough meat to counter the rotation of these bearings and the balancer and stuff like that. So if we point this one up, you can see that it's going down. So we'll do it again. So we definitely know that this is our heaviest prop. Now, a lot of people will go through and try to find out which out of these two is the lightest, or the next heaviest, or however you want to describe it. And you can kind of do that if you want. So if we point this one up and see how far it drops, you know, kind of halfway, and then it kind of gets stuck over here. Pretty much the same thing. So you got to start somewhere. We know this is the heaviest blade, so I'm just going to go ahead and take some CA. And some people don't like doing CA. Some people like using tape, whatever. I just find the CA to be just the easiest to work with. And I just put a little bit of medium CA. I don't use kicker or anything like that. I just try not to touch it because it just makes a mess and makes everything slimy and all that kind of stuff. So now if we point that prop straight up, we can see that the heavy prop is still pulling everything down. So now I want to put some on this blade to try to counteract and bring it back up. So we're going to put some on that blade there. And so now let's just stick it there and see what's going on. So now we can see that we're kind of getting close here. So if we kind of balance it and finesse it a little bit, now we might have created a little bit of an issue where we put a little bit too much on that side. So let's go back to the other side here and add a little bit there. Rub it in a little bit. Throw it on the balancer. All right, now we're getting close here. So everything is perfectly still right there. Everything is perfectly still right there. Let's try straight up. Everything's good there. Just try moving it around at different angles. Getting a little bit of pull still here on that heavy side. So let's add a little bit to this here, which that might have been too much. We'll see. All right, straight up, everything's good. The heaviest one. All right, sorry, phone call came in. So that was a little bit too much. So with the CA, what I did was just wipe it off a little bit real quick before it all dried. That's the good thing about using a medium CA, is that it'll stay where you put it and it gives you a little bit of working time. So now, if you see, we'll put the blade in all kinds of positions and we should get like very little movement at all. Like everything should just be like we're caught in that little bearing gap right there, and it's gonna want to fall to it. But I'm going to leave that one go because that is about as close as you're going to get. I mean, you can spend a lot of time on this, but there's so many intolerances, as I spoke of earlier, that are working against you, that this is the second prop that I've taken out of this bag. And you can see prop number 1 had to be adjusted. Prop number 2 had to be adjusted. So you can see that we are making progress. So we'll set up here for the next prop. So this is the Master Airscrew 6x4, 5x3, and they are a lot closer to being balanced out of the bag compared to the Ideals. I've already done some adjustments on this one, and you can see that straight up we're all good on that blade. I do notice that the CA is attacking this blade a little bit, so you might not want to use CA on this plastic with the Master Airscrews. but we can put it in all these different positions and just kind of see what's going on. We got a little bit of, just a little bit of pull from this blade right here probably. Let's see. And straight up it's okay. Let's see when we go to an angle. It's good right there. Just a little dip right there. Let's see if we go straight up, if it goes a certain way. What about here? Is it gonna fall any which way? No. It's close enough. I mean, that's better than stock. So let's take a look at the bi-blade polycarbonates. And from my experience, these are pretty good out of the bag. Some of them require modification or tape, in this example, to the blades to get the blades level out with bi-blades. But the other thing with bi-blades is the meaty part in the hub. This is where all of your weight's at. And you can see with this one, I had to balance the blades, and that took care of everything, and I'll demonstrate that. On this one, there's nothing wrong with the blades, but I had to put some on the hub. So let me just show you an example here of one that's been balanced. So right now, it's perfectly straight up. This is from doing hub balancing, and you can see that I can put the blade at any angle and it's going to stay. And if I reset here real quick, and we'll take a look at one that didn't require any hub balancing. I might edit this out, maybe I won't. It's good to see the whole process. So let's start straight up here. Straight up, we're dangling a little bit. Okay, at that angle, level, we're pretty good there. That angle, we're good. Straight up, we're good. So that's two different examples of what you might run into when it comes to those kind of polycarbonate blades. So let's take a look at the carbon blend HQs, and these are two brand new right out of the pack, and we'll see how close they are. So I'll throw the first one on here. These are generally pretty close. Out of a bag, you might have to modify like one of them slightly. Usually they're pretty good, but we'll see. So the first thing is we'll stick it on the balancer here, and okay, that really dropped there, but it's not dropping here. Okay, dropping a little bit. And let's get it back over here and see what happens. It's staying still right there. What happens when we move it to the top? Nothing. And see, this is just kind of that finesse thing that you get into with these blades. You start asking yourself, is it a hub problem or if it is a blade problem? Because this demonstrates that the blades are fairly level right here, but I'm trying to make sure they're not caught into that notch. but they're both coming to level. You can also flip it around here and see what happens. So if anything, I think this side here is a little lighter than that side. So let's see if my theory holds true. We're just gonna put a little bit on here, and I just rub it in a little bit. It looks like a lot more than it actually is. And that is coming right to level. All right, it's coming right to level, nothing too crazy. So now let's test the hub. All right, that's good straight up. Looks like it's drifting a little bit there. Let's do our angle test and see what happens. A little bit of rock. A little bit of rock there. I mean, this one is close enough. Looks like just a little bit on the blade there really took care of it. I mean, it might slightly need a little bit on this side of the hub here. So we'll just put a dab on there. So just go right to the middle of the hub. It doesn't have to be in a corner or nothing like that. And I'm just going to put a drop on there and see what happens. So you can always sand the CA, or when you test it like this, you can always wipe it off quickly. So now it looks like it is staying perfectly still. Yep. All right. That's good. Make sure we don't touch that one. Let it dry. We'll do the other one, and that should be a pretty good example of how to do this stuff. It's a good thing to do when, I don't know, you're frustrated with your builds or the weather's not good and you can't fly. You know, get this stuff taken care of because it's just going to make your experience better. So the blade looks pretty even right there. Pretty even there. Let's just flip it around here and make sure. Let's start checking our hub balance. Getting a little bit of pull this way. Let's flip it back over here so we can see a little bit better. All right, so straight up, everything looks good. Right there, everything looks good. I don't know, this one might be okay. It does want to pull that way slightly. Alright, so it's pulling that way just a tad. So normally I wouldn't do anything, but I just want to try to get it perfect for the video. So there's just a little bit on there. And let's see what we did. Alright. Alright, so see how now it doesn't want to pull back a little bit? It wants to stay straight. Just that little bit of extra 0.000 whatever grams on that hub made everything better. Still wants to pull a little bit. Not convinced that it's the hub too, so I'm gonna put a little bit, just a dab on the blade. Not much, just a dab. Alright, so you can see everything's just perfect and locked in now. Just that little dab on the blade. So you can see it's kind of tricky. I thought it was the hub there at first, but it looks like the blade actually made the biggest difference. All right. All right, I think that's going to do it. Like, I hope that turned out pretty good and kind of showed a little bit of an updated version of balance and props for our multi-rotor needs these days, and not some videos that are a couple years old. You know, again, these smaller props are really finicky because there's not much weight on these blades to kind of overcome what's going on with the balancer. The magnetic balancers, the small thumb ones that you can get, I have one, but it's just not as easy to work with as this, because you need to make up a jig with it that is perfect. And the other problem is the ones that come with like the little stands, like this with the little magnetic thing that you can get off like an Amazon. People talk about the rods not being true and things like that. So that's why I recommend to go with the Dubro. And as you can see, it's really big, so you can go up and down to do different sizes. And if you have like 7 or 8 inch props, you have these, you can move these around here into the center, one of these balancers, and then you can scoot this over the edge of the table and hang your prop off. You know, it would be like this basically, and you can balance your bigger propellers that way. So if you have like, you know, a Phantom or something like that with like 9.5 inch props, or if we get back into like super long range stuff again and we start like if you guys got planes, even though most of the planes now are running like 6 or 7 inch props anyway. So my old Bixler 3, I think I ran like a an 8 or a 9 inch on that one. I can't remember. And you know, that this was key to balancing it and everything too. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it. I hope this helps some of you out there, and let me know how your props are looking and how your footage and everything else is improving. So talk to you later.